à la conférence.
Welcome to conference.
Welcome to conference. Welcome.
Welcome to conference.
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 Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to conference.
Okay, I can't. Hi, and welcome everybody to day 2 of Green Party Conference. We've got a really packed schedule for everybody today, but it is my pleasure to introduce Amelia Womack to do her Deputy Leader speech. She's just got elected for her 4th term. She beat me twice in 2 of those elections, so that's a pleasure. She's also got the 2nd place in the House of Lords selection as well, and will be standing for the Welsh Parliament, the Senedd this year, in the South West East Wales seat. So, without further ado, I'll hand over to Amelia Womack, Deputy Leader of the Green Party.
Welcome to the Green Party's extraordinary autumn conference. And this is an extraordinary conference because these extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. But when have we ever been anything other than extraordinary? This is our first ever online conference. And while it's a huge shame we can't be together, enjoying one another's company, I'm still very glad that we can come together online and feel the solidarity and mutual support that conference brings. One of the extraordinary things about the Green Party is that we continue to form our policies through our conference rather than from the top down. So I'm thrilled that so many of you are joining in to shape the future of our party, because everybody who takes part takes on the responsibility of creating our future as a party, as a country, and as a planet. For some of you, our conference will be a completely new experience. And for others, you'll have fond memories of travels to Scarborough, Liverpool, Brighton, and beyond. Can you believe it was just a year ago that you were with me in Newport for Autumn Conference 2019? You came to explore my fantastic home city. But what a lot has changed since then. We had a snap general election, which itself seems a long time ago. Brexit, which I still like to pretend didn't really happen. Australian wildfires and Arctic ice breaking up, reminding us that we must do more to stop the irreversible decline of the health of the planet. Uprisings against police brutality, including the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, among so many others. And of course, the coronavirus pandemic. Who would have thought a year ago that all of this was in our future? Newport is now in its 2nd lockdown, and I'm sure that many of you are also in your 2nd lockdown, or wondering when it might come to where you live. Proper lockdown measures are vital to reduce the loss of lives, the risk to workers, especially in the NHS. It's a blunt tool, but one of the only ones we have as a society to protect people. And during our lockdown, we have seen people struggle. But we've also seen people embrace big ideas, people reflecting on what a better version of our society might look like. And most of all, people's instincts for unity and compassion shine. Meanwhile, we've seen a government flip-flop on big issues and give vague and confused messages about what people are meant to do. Just a few weeks ago, we were given the impression that if people didn't return to their offices, the country would collapse. Then a second wave came. The furlough scheme was brought to an abrupt end. In England, tenants are at risk after the eviction ban was terminated. And the government was exposed for having no real plan to build back better or support people's lives. Well, we, the extraordinary Greens, have that real plan, and we've had it for a long time. It begins with a universal basic income. As Greens, we've been fighting for this transformative policy that can protect workers in all industries while keeping our economy alive. This is why I put together a letter that was co-signed by many in the music and art sector, which was sent to the Chancellor, insisting that he consider the benefits a UBI could bring to the arts and culture, to save jobs, to save venues, to save that sector that is the lifeblood of our culture and communities, to ensure for both workers and audiences that the arts remain for everybody, not just the privileged, so that they can flourish now when they're needed most, to keep people entertained, to keep people's spirits up. We understand the importance of the arts and culture because we know that a person's value is not measured by how much profit they can generate. But this government has seemed to throw more effort at helping bland and overpriced sandwiches and landlords of bland and overpriced student properties. But universal basic income is just the start. As Greens, we pride ourselves on our radical yet rational politics that work to tackle the climate and ecological emergency while addressing vast inequalities in our society. And it's easy to forget that before the pandemic, around the time of the general election, our media was taking our climate and ecology more seriously than ever before. Some of that momentum has been lost over the last few months. But this is the time we need to bring it back to the top of the agenda because we know that the solutions for all these crises are one and the same. I'm proud that in Wales, we have a pioneering policy that reflects our green values called the Future Generations Act. This law puts the rights and well-being of future generations, not just short-term interests, at the heart of all Welsh Government decision-making. If we implement a Future Generations Act across the UK, it could mean less focus on short-term gains for landlords and sandwich chains and strengthen the movement for a better future for our economy, climate and society. This is a policy we as Greens campaigned for in the 2019 general election, and fundamentally it shifts short-termist ways of thinking that are deeply damaging our society. From austerity and poverty to supporting fossil fuels and plastics, disregarding children and generations not yet born has caused irreversible destructions to our communities, atmosphere and habitats. As Greens, we value not just where we can deliver in an election cycle. We don't just promise something for tomorrow, the next 5 years, or even the next decade. Our vision is for a future of fairness, and our manifestos are a stepping stone towards it. A Future Generations Act can be powerful. In Wales, it's helped us block the M4 bypass motorway from being created. Let's face it, no government that cares about future generations would continue to build motorways and expand airports in the way that we have seen the establishment parties attempt to do. But also, as Johnson brings the M4 back on the agenda, we see a Prime Minister who's willing to override not just common sense, but also devolution itself. Next year, we will have a bumper year for elections. London mayoral and assembly elections, elections for mayor and councils across England, many delayed by-elections, and in Wales we have the elections to the Senedd. I am our lead candidate in our target region of South Wales East for the Welsh Parliament elections, and this is already shaping up to be a very exciting election. It will test how people feel about the incumbent Labour Party, who have effectively had control of Wales since devolution in 1999. It will be a battle between those who want more devolution leading towards independence and those who want to reduce or remove devolution completely. The Tories in Westminster are attempting a power grab against devolution, prompted partly by the end of the transition arrangements with the EU. We need to work with our colleagues in Scotland and Northern Ireland to ensure that our nation's democratic rights aren't trampled on by this delinquent government. Because the truth is, Wales doesn't just need a brighter future. It needs change, right here, right now. We need real change today for the millions of people who've been let down by a political establishment happy to watch entire communities trapped in dead-end poverty. We need real change today for people vulnerable to the lies of fascism, because they haven't been offered any sort of future by the collapsing centre of neoliberal politics. We need real change today for some of the most incredible habitats and landscapes anywhere in the world, from the coast of Pembrokeshire to the rolling peaks of the Brecon Beacons, to the never-ending views of Snowdonia. We can get all that change by pouring our national effort into the most important work of the century ahead, the mission to go net zero carbon by 2030, renewables everywhere. It means a national effort to restore our natural world, to make Wales the most ecologically diverse and beautiful nation in the world. It means insulating every single home so nobody needs to decide between feeding their kids and paying for heating ever again. And it means doing all this by paying people a decent living wage for the world's most important work. Our Green New Deal for Wales will create a wave of good green jobs, stimulating the economy in every corner of the country and offering real opportunities for young people through decent apprenticeships, skills training and education. Wales was once the powerhouse of Britain, and it can be again. Obviously, we can't go back to coal, but we can lead the world on renewables. We can lead the world on wind energy. We can lead the world on pioneering technology like the tidal lagoon. Wales led the first industrial revolution, and we can lead the second. And where we lead, the rest of Britain, the rest of Europe, and the rest of the world will follow. Before I was stopped in my tracks by the pandemic, I spent half my life on trains, crisscrossing the country, meeting green activists in cities, towns, and villages where they're working hard, knocking on doors to get Greens in power. So I know that the recent story of Wales is not unique to my nation. That story of economic decline, atomisation, destitution, and hopelessness. I see coastal towns abandoned, with tourism in freefall. I see town after town with hollowed out high streets, nothing but boarded up doors, bookies, and vape shops. I see people living in worse and worse housing, on higher and higher rents to make ends meet on lower and lower wages. For too long, establishment politics has ripped the heart out of communities, wrenching opportunities from the young and putting public space in the hands of private profit. So a Green New Deal for Wales could be the beacon for what we can do in every single community in the UK, unlocking a brighter and greener future for everyone. Greens are standing up for local democracy. We're standing up for Wales, and I'm standing to lead us into the Senedd for the very first time, to stand up for all of our futures. A key part of our work as Greens is scrutiny. Our sister party in Scotland consistently prove that and show the great things that can be achieved when Greens are elected to a devolved parliament. This summer, it was Green MSP Ross Greer who saw the coming disaster, the exam results algorithm, held the Scottish Government to account, exposed the injustice to the media and public, and forced them to change course. In budget talks with the minority SNP administration, the Greens have proven themselves to be tough and smart negotiators. The Greens have secured an annual grant for young carers, free public transport for all young people from next year, and hundreds of millions of pounds of extra funding for local authorities facing cuts. And it's because of the Greens that Scotland has the most progressive income tax system in the country, with low earners paying less and the better off paying more to fund public services. And it remains the case that the only Green Party law in the UK is Patrick Harvey's 2009 Aggravation by Prejudice Act, which ensured homophobic and disability-related offences would be treated as hate crimes, and was the first trans-inclusive hate crime legislation in Europe. We know the power of elected Greens. We see Caroline Lucas, Jenny Jones and Natalie Bennett hold the government and opposition to account every day. We see our councillors making change that makes lives better for our friends, family and neighbours. Every day I am thankful for the hard work of our elected officials and the activists out there knocking on doors, delivering leaflets, running campaigns and ensuring we get more Greens elected to deliver real change for our communities, towns, cities and country. It's been tough to pause campaigning, especially when we had such a big opportunity to win big and build on our incredible results of 2019. But we are ready to win big when we finally get the chance next May. If the last year has proved anything, it's that rapid change is possible in the face of a crisis. That people don't want to go back to normal because what the hell was normal about before? What the hell was normal about children living in poverty? Governments ignoring the climate and ecological emergency, refugees dying while seeking safety. As Greens, we will never settle for normal. We will only accept extraordinary. So keep campaigning for Greens to be elected. Keep campaigning to create something better. We know we can make better possible, and we know we can do it together. Thank you to all of you for everything you do to make it happen. And I look forward to being there with you every step of the way.
So well done, Amelia. Great speech. A lot of appreciative comments for your speech in the chat box from people. Sam Murray, woo! So I think that reflects what you might have got if we were actually in a real place. So well done, Amelia. Just going to say a quick plug for this evening's social that I will be comparing, which is the Pekka Kucha evening. It's an evening of presentations which lasts no more than 6 minutes 40 seconds, and it's 20 slides, 20 seconds each, and a cornucopia of presentations that are going to be presented. So please come along and we'll see how it goes. It'll be an interesting event, I'm sure. Okay, my next job is to introduce Councillor Rosie Sexton, who is the new chair of the Association of Green Councillors, a post I've held in the past, so I know it's involved, and I'm pleased that she's going to be doing it. She was first elected in 2019 to the Shirley West ward, and of course came a strong second place in the leadership contest earlier this year. So really great to have her there. And she's the party's spokesperson on health and social care. In her professional life, she is an osteopath, which should help her maybe cure some of the people who she has physical combat with as a martial arts fighter, where she's won many a contest in that role. So without further ado, I introduce Rosie Sexton, who I'll be working with on the AGC board. Over to you, Rosie.
Thank you, Andrew. I didn't intend to become a politician. That was never my game plan. I joined the Green Party, perhaps like many of us, because I saw the urgency of the climate emergency, and I saw that this wasn't being prioritised by the other parties. A few years later, a local Green Party councillor knocked on our door. One thing led to another, and I became more involved in our local party. Before I knew it, I found myself standing as a target candidate, and I was elected last year as part of the Green Wave that saw us more than double the number of councillors up and down the country. When I first agreed to stand, I didn't know much about local politics. Despite growing up in a household where national politics was talked about round the dinner table, I had very little idea what a local councillor actually did. So to go from there to here in the space of 2 years, it's been a really steep learning curve. And what I want to share with you today is why I've become passionate about local politics and why I think it's at the heart of what we do in the Green Party. As councillors, we have the opportunity to do lots of things. We can bring our residents' concerns to meetings and make sure that their voices are considered. We can scrutinise decision-making and hold the establishment to account. We can challenge unfair systems that aren't working, and we can make sure that our priorities of environmental and social justice stay at the top of the agenda. But the thing that really made me fall in love with local politics was the ability to make a real difference to the lives of local people. I remember the first piece of casework that I had as a freshly elected councillor back in May last year. An elderly resident called me, and she told me that the council's bushes were overhanging her driveway, which was making it dangerous for her carers to get in and out. In previous years, her husband had cut these bushes, but he'd recently lost his sight, so he wasn't able to do that. They tried to contact the council several times to no success. So off I went. 2 emails later, the bushes were cut, the problem was solved. And this seems like such a small thing. I mean, after all, it's not saving the world or eliminating poverty, but it made a real difference to that couple. And that woman said to me, "This is the first time in my life I've contacted a politician and they've actually done something useful." We can all see that trust in politics and politicians is at an all-time low. And who can be surprised when we see what's going on in the world and what everyone sees on the news? So when people say to me things like, "You're the first politician I've met who seems to really care," or "You've restored my faith in politics just a little bit," that matters. We talk in the Green Party a lot about doing politics differently, but here we have the opportunity to show what differently looks like. We can bring a human face to our councils. We have the power to cut through that bureaucracy, to stand up for the local people who we represent, and to win over hearts and minds one at a time. As Greens, we believe in the power of local decision-making and local democracy. We know that to tackle the challenge of climate change and the issues of equality, fairness, and social justice that are so important to us, we have to bring people together to create solutions. And none of us can do this alone, because we each represent only a small corner of the country. But together, we can do amazing things. Today, the Green Party has 354 councillors on 123 district, county, borough and city councils. and more town and parish councillors. Of those, we form part of the ruling administration on 18, and that most recently includes Brighton and Hove, where the Greens took over the running of the council last July. The AGC is here to support all of those councillors, from lone Greens to those in opposition groups and those in administration. Every group faces its unique challenges and its own political landscape, but through the AGC, we come together to share ideas and inspiration and to use our collective voice to lobby for change. And we're also here to shout about what Green councillors are doing, both to you, our members, and also to the wider world. Because I want everyone to know that we have hundreds of elected Greens up and down the country, delivering on our priorities, our values, our policies, supporting their communities and showing what politics can be. I'll give you a few examples. It was a Green councillor in Bristol, Carla Denyer, who proposed the first climate emergency motion in the UK. And since then, 69% of councils have followed. But we know that good intentions aren't enough, which is why we've been pushing for councils to adopt carbon management strategies, as they have in Herefordshire, where Ellie Chowns is the Cabinet Member for the Environment. In Lewes District Council, where we share power, they've commissioned a plan to put not just the council, but the whole district on course for zero emissions by 2030. And our councillor, Matthew Bird, is leading that work. In Norwich, our councillors in opposition have been pushing for municipal investment bonds, which is a way to crowdfund for sustainable energy investments. In Peterborough, Sol Green councillor Nicola Day won her motion to create a food strategy to tackle food inequality, and she's been working with active travel campaigners to improve cycle infrastructure. In Solihull, we've campaigned for more socially rented housing, and we've successfully pushed the council to provide support to social care workers who've been struggling financially as a result of the COVID crisis. And our new Green administration in Brighton and Hove recently secured funding to provide housing and additional support to homeless people to help them find permanent accommodation. And these are just a few examples of all the great work that's going on. At this point, I'm going to give a shout out to our brilliant climate change support officer, Julian Dean, who's running a fringe later on councils and climate change. So do go along to that to hear more. Now, if you're feeling inspired and you want to get involved, there's lots of ways to do that. Perhaps the easiest is to help to campaign for your local target candidates. And that can involve anything from stuffing envelopes or delivering leaflets to knocking on doors or helping to design newsletters. But maybe you've got thoughts about becoming a councillor yourself and standing as a prospective target candidate. That can seem daunting, but the AGC is here, along with your local and regional parties, to answer any questions you might have and to address your concerns, talk you through what's involved, step by step. We need candidates from all different backgrounds. So if you don't think that you'd fit in as a councillor, that's even more reason we'd like to support you to stand. If you're not ready to take that step, there's lots of other opportunities to help. There's background work, for example, drafting motions and consultation responses, and the AGC has lots more information about this. Together, we can make a difference, and we can build the foundations for our party's success at a national level. We need to be a party that represents every class, every colour, and every community. A party that combines a bold vision of a better future with a clear understanding of what works. And a party that knows how to win elections, not to take power for its own sake, but to deliver the change that our country desperately needs. And we will make this happen by engaging with our local communities, by earning their trust, and by proving that better is possible when Greens get elected. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosie. Great speech, and really pleased that you're going to be heading up the AGC board as the chair of the Association of Green Councillors. It's going to be an exciting time. There's loads to do, and hopefully we'll have loads more Green councillors elected next year. I want to give a special shout out now for a Green Councillor. That's Councillor Steve Masters from Newbury, who only yesterday was dragged out of a tree in Jones Hill Wood. He's an anti-HS2 protester there, and I've been down to meet him and to support the work that they've done there. And he has been an inspiration because he has attended every council meeting via Zoom during that time. So my thoughts certainly go out to him. And I'm hoping that he's still going to be able to join us on the Pekakucha evening tonight to give a presentation. He was going to be doing it from a treehouse, but not now, unfortunately. Okay, Rosie. Okay, Amelia. Thanks, everybody. We'll get on with the rest of the day, and enjoyed seeing you all. Okay, thanks.